Oh, this is as athletic as it gets.
Lord.
Watch it. The impossible backflip. Oh.
No.
That is core strength about as good as
What
you'll
about his
see.
rotator cuff?
Yes, but
What
look,
about-
what do you think's stopping him? Well, you know, I don't know.
Hold on, but your point is the double jointedness, or
The strength in his upper arms to be able to hold him up like that. Jenna's more concerned about his stomach. Man, look, the stomach's part of it, but
It's incredible.
I mean, he's got some ridiculous arm strength.
That is
Don't do that.
incredible.
I think it's Photoshop. I don't think human beings can do that.
Video? You Photoshop the video?
Yeah. But have you seen movies, Jenna?
Okay,
I mean, special effects.
It's your birthday, Jenna. It's your
Give me a
birthday.
pass.
It's your birthday.
Photoshop the video?
My new
When did that
thing is-
technology come
Listen,
out?
my new thing this year is I'm not going to believe everything everyone tells me. I've been very
No.
vocal
This is the
past
problem,
year.
though. You believe so much stuff that other people have been telling you. Nick
Yeah.
and I have been trying to correct it for the last year and a half.
I don't know what to believe.
No.
Just you guys.
We can't give you misinformation. That would really pollute the tank.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to believe.
Just real quick, since we
Yeah.
mentioned movies, it didn't win best documentary this year, but it was really good. I thought it should have. Jurassic Park, really well done. Documentary film.
Okay, not a documentary. That is a real movie. Okay, real movie, and it came out like 10 years ago. Back to the NFL.
That one was fake, but the new one.
Heading into this
Lost footage.
weekend's combine,
Yeah.
the top two
Dude.
quarterbacks available are presumed to be Kyler Murray and Dwayne Haskins, but according to reports, they're not even everyone's top two. Other quarterbacks on the top of some teams' boards include former Missouri quarterback Drew Lock and former Duke quarterback Daniel Jones. All right, CC, it's an easy question. Who is the best quarterback in this year's draft?
It's his NFL, right? NFL draft, right?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Okay, Haskins.
Yeah.
Because it was some other type of draft, then I might be able to make a case for some of these other guys. But if it was, I can't remember the last time that we had a quarterback, if it's ever happened, threw for 50 touchdowns from a Power 5 conference, let alone being from a school like Ohio State, that they would question, is this guy a first rounder? Like, I wonder, what are people looking at? Like, what kind of football did you watch last year to not know Dwayne Haskins and what he did with that Ohio State team? He's the best quarterback in they've been playing football over 120 years. He's the best quarterback. We've had hundreds of pros. He's the best quarterback that's ever played for the institution. His ability to be able to read defenses, his ability to be able to deliver the football at all angles. He's got a rifle arm. He's a great leader. He took over. He's a redshirt sophomore, but he took over in the Michigan game as a redshirt freshman. When JT Barrett gets hurt late in the game, they have a 3rd and long. Ryan Day, who has a tremendous amount of confidence, and I don't believe people are giving him enough credit, he drops back. Watch the quick set. He rifles the ball down the sideline, 3rd and 13, puts the ball in that small window because this coaching staff had tremendous confidence, even though JT Barrett, as a 4-year starter was there. They knew the offense was going to get better. He transformed that offense. They've never run an offense like that at Ohio State. They ran it because of his skill set. And I just believe his overall football IQ, how he's able to recognize his defenses, and the impact that Ryan Day, because people think Ryan Day, he's the head coach at Ohio State, that people don't know. But he's also got a pro background. He comes from the Chip Kelly coaching tree. Chip Kelly, he was a quarterback at New Hampshire when Chip Kelly was the coach there.
Oh, yeah.
And then eventually went on to meet up with Chip Kelly in Philadelphia and went on with him to San Francisco. So when you talk to Ryan Day, when you talk about Haskins, he talks about quarterbacks that he's seen, and that being Matt Ryan and that being Sam Bradford, the accuracy that he throws the ball and the type of leadership. And I think both of those guys are great examples in their pro career of doing both. Sam Bradford not able to stay healthy, but no one ever questioned his overall accuracy. So I just think when it's all said and done at the combine, people will start to see, wow, this guy, he's really into football. He's the face of the franchise. He's a legitimate 6'3". He has a cannon of an arm. So I look for Dwayne Haskins to get better in pro football. Typically, we see the other way around. He's just now getting started. He's 21. Doesn't turn 22 until May. Man, I mean, his future is very, very bright, and I think the brightest of all the quarterbacks that we have in this year's draft.
The idea that Daniel Jones from Duke or Drew Lock from Missouri are anywhere in the discussion here is ludicrous. It's patently ludicrous. Those two guys combined for 50 touchdowns on the year, combined, and for just over 6,000 passing yards. Haskins himself had 50 touchdowns and nearly 5,000 passing yards. Okay, so that's first of all. Second of all, he checks every box but experience. The only box he does, he is the right height. Yep. He is the right style. He has the right numbers. He has the right intangibles. He went to a big time school. He won at a high level. This is the area where even in 2019, you sense a bit of the yeah, but with the black quarterback. Because there is no world that exists where a white Dwayne Haskins with this profile at that school with that production, if all of a sudden in a black Drew Lock, they were like, you know what, maybe Drew Lock out of Missouri is the better NFL pick. Like this is, and we can't even apply it to, it's not like, well, we don't know about his style. So we saw a similar thing, Cam Newton, when he just ran through college football at Auburn, and then there was a quarterback from Missouri named Blaine Gabbert, and they're like, you know what, maybe he's the better prospect. That was ludicrous, but at least in that instance, you had the small excuse of, well, Cam is so much of a runner. How much of that? This guy never runs. I think he has less than 200 career rushing yards. He is a prototypical drop back passer. Now, if Kyler's height isn't a killer for him, Kyler could be an interesting, I'll be interested to see how their careers match up, because at least Kyler was as productive and successful at the
Kyler's
level.
The only quarterback they should compare.
Correct.
Now, you can't compare because the height, 5'9" to 6'3", but based on the way they threw the football and perform, he's the only guy that you can compare Haskins to as a thrower. We know that they're not the same types of runners.
So what are scouts talking about then? So why are we even having this discussion if it seems like it's so obvious?
Every year, there's always a couple quarterbacks, and I say this position more than any other because everyone's always looking for the Montana, for the Brady, but they bump them up. These guys were drafted appropriately. Joe Montana was not a high draft pick. Tom Brady was not a high draft pick. But because the position and because the need, you see all this extra hype right before the draft of all these guys, they're going to be great. If you're not great at throwing the football in college, it's very, very, very rare to impossible to get better throwing the ball in pro football.
Go ahead.
Isn't this sort of what happened with Josh Allen a little bit? That he came from a small school, wasn't that successful, but he fit all the prototypes. He was tall, he had a strong arm, he looked like the quarterback that all the John Elways want to hire. And then you see how they struggle a little bit in the NFL.
Listen, you don't, the thing that is over 40 years of NFL history, we have documented proof on. The hardest thing to improve from the college level to the professional level is your completion percentage. The one guy in recent history that's gone real high and done it is Matt Stafford. He was not a very accurate collegiate quarterback, and he has become more accurate, even though he's still not the most accurate professional quarterback. You could maybe argue also Brett Favre. And Favre, though, is kind of a one-of-one story in a lot of ways in NFL history. If you are not accurate at the college level with open throwing lanes, less complex offenses, worse defenses, how are you going to get, now you can get, your arm can get a bit stronger. You can learn more football. There's a lot of things you can make better decisions. There's a lot of things you obviously improve on. Accuracy, Haskins completed 70% of his passes. And listen, I'm also a little biased in just because as much as you respected JT Barrett, the only four-year captain at your university ever, right?
Yes.
That I was at the Ohio State-Penn State game with Chris and you at the midway through, not this past season, but the season before. And you were talking about Haskins then.
Yeah.
You were talking about this freshman we have who's going to be the best thrower Ohio State's ever had. So I've had a closer eye on him than most, but the numbers jump off the page.
And he's been special. He's got a special swag about him. He's got a special leadership. Go back and watch the videos of him going to an Ohio State camp, telling the coaches there, man, I'm going to be the quarterback for Ohio State. Man, we were lucky to get him. He was committed to the University of Maryland. Urban Meyer convinced him to be able to come over. Ryan Day's impact on him and what he's learned in pro football and implementing that into the Ohio State offense this year, I believe he's a special kid. I believe it's just now getting started. And if there's a quarterback you want to take a chance on in this year's draft, if there's a thing, Haskins is going to be my guy. All right, because I have just seen it, and sometimes it's not in the numbers. Sometimes you just know. You just know about it when you see it or when you feel it, and I just have that feeling about Haskins, and it's not about Ohio State. It's about a kid who is special throwing the football, just like Baker Mayfield was special throwing the football last year.
I was just about to just put a button on this. So there's only 2 quarterbacks since you and I have known each other over the last 3 years, college quarterbacks, I've heard you talk about to this level. Because listen, I loved Rosen coming out of school. Like I get a little overexcited about college quarterbacks. You have a very high threshold for it. Those 2, it wasn't Darnold. Those 2 are Baker Mayfield and this kid. Baker just proved the entire world either wrong or right, depending on what you said about him with what he did with Cleveland. We'll see what Haskins does. But you have been talking about this kid for the last, since he was a high schooler. And what he did this year at Ohio State was break all, not only the Ohio State records, all of Drew Brees' Big Ten records.
Yeah.
It is a question of who should be the second quarterback taking the draft, not the first.
Who should be the first. All right, take a break. Coming up, did LeBron James kill the Lakers by trying to orchestrate a trade? That is next on First Things First. Nick's already laughing.
Well, listen, we got legitimate stuff to blame LeBron for. We got defensive film.